Hi, I'm Devin from Careerified. Welcome back to the living room. Here we are again. This week's career tip, I wanted to talk a little bit about grades and employment. If you have a child who is currently in post-secondary or will be there in the next couple of years, one thing that a lot of students get surprised by is the drop in their grades. Now, on average, student grades will drop about 10 points from what they had in high school to what they go to in post-secondary in that first semester. It's just a natural function of course material being delivered differently or being in a different environment, having to take more responsibility and more accountability. A lot of students find that a huge adjustment, so it's coming. What I find creates a challenge is this happens and suddenly students start thinking, oh my gosh, nobody's ever going to hire me because my grades are getting terrible. So as a parent, the question I want to put out to you is this. Have you ever had an employer ask you for a transcript? My guess is no. And they do exist. There are some new grad programs, management training, that kind of thing, where they will ask for a transcript as part of the process. But for the most part, employers don't really care what your grades are. And that's something that a lot of students don't realize and unnecessarily stress over. Over the years, I've had some interesting conversations with employers about this and read a few articles about it. And the interesting thing is there are certainly a lot of employers out there who are very hesitant to hire a student who has excellent grades. The concern is if they've never failed at anything, they won't know how to handle failure. And a lot of employers say, if this kid has succeeded at everything they've ever done, failing is coming. Everybody fails at something. I'm not sure I want to be the person in the fallout range when it does. That's a fair point, and it's something to consider. The other side of it, and somewhat related, is they may question why the student has never had a grade below an A or a 90 or an 80 or however you quantify it. So what is that? Is it that they've always taken the easiest courses? Is it that they always pick the easiest topics for their projects or papers? Why exactly has that happened the way it has? Because then the concern is, well, maybe I won't be able to give this person anything challenging because they won't rise to the challenge. So in lieu of, going to yell at our kids' teachers and getting better grades for them, what are our options here? I think it's important to tell kids, hey, most employers aren't going to care what your grades look like. They're probably never going to ask you for a transcript. Okay, first the doorbell rang and now he's here. Just going to throw that out there. The other thing is to help them focus on the idea that understanding the material is more important than memorizing it. So it's not just about getting through the next test or exam or project, it's about looking at how this fits into the wider picture of what they know. Help is certainly available. I think the biggest thing to bear in mind is you can't be the person providing the help, right? If they need tutoring, they need to look for the tutor, and then you have to figure out a plan of how you're going to pay for that tutoring. Once they're in post-secondary education, there will be academic support services available on campus. There will be office hours open with their professors and their teaching assistants to help get them the information that they need. But they're going to have to seek it out, and they're going to have to go and say, I need help. So we may as well start laying that groundwork while they're in high school of how to ask for help and how to effectively make a plan to get where they'd like to go if they truly don't understand the material or they're not happy with their grades. The last thing, and I think the most important, help them with employability skills. The issues that our kids are running into are things like not being able to communicate effectively, not being able to define what the problem is and figure out what it is that they need, and not being able to take accountability for their actions, not being able to be held responsible for what may or may not go wrong. So those are things that we can work on with our kids, whether it's related to their chores or part-time jobs or volunteering. We can help develop those employability skills in our kids, and that's the stuff that's going to matter. So later on when they're in a job interview and somebody asks them, well, what's your greatest weakness? My most hated interview question. Or asks them something along the lines of, tell me about a time when a project didn't go right for you and how you fixed it. They're going to have real concrete examples, and that employer is going to see that person who's your kid but won't be a kid then. They're going to see that person as somebody competent who can handle things when they go a little bit off course. So that's my tip for this week. Grades mostly don't matter to employers. We'll keep it in that frame. Join me next week in the living room for another career tip. Thanks.